Hi, it's Sue. Thanks for joining me for today's Bible reading for June 28th. Today I'm reading Psalm 78 and 79, so only two Psalms today on our reading plan. I haven't figured out the MO of this reading plan. I don't even have a reference to give you for it because I don't remember where I got it from. So I assume these two Psalms are longer, is why there are only two here. I don't know. I don't remember from other readings. We'll see in a minute. But first, I want to share just a quick thought with you. I know the Bible's life-changing. I've said before that back in the late 80s, someone gave me a one-year Bible. I read it almost every year, almost every day, almost every year for probably 30 years. I read it in multiple versions, different versions. The NIV, the Amplified, the New American Standard, the Chronological, the New Living Translation, my favorite, and so on. So I love that habit. However, like any daily task or self-improvement goal, the results are not usually immediate. A lot of people say they want to read their Bible, they start and quit, just like exercise or diet. So, yes, there are times when we get an immediate reward from reading the Bible. We may get an understanding or a revelation or find a verse that speaks directly to our situation. I've had that happen many times. Or I just knew God just gave me an answer. It's exciting. But a lot of it happens over time with repetition. And for example, if a man goes to the gym today, he's not going to come home with chiseled abs, right? But over time, he will. He does the right exercises. So it takes a level of discipline and commitment to get there. It's the same with Bible reading. There are two things that keep us going on habits. One, it's said that we always return to a place of pleasure. So if our exercise plan or diet is something that's just drudgery to us and we don't enjoy it, we're not going to keep at it. It has to be something we want to do and want to return to. Yes, there's a level of discipline and dying to our flesh and saying no to our appetites. But, if that treadmill is just, you dread it, you're not going to get on it. Not very long, not many days. But if you find a way to like it, say listening to your favorite podcast, then you'll keep doing it, right? Well, with Bible reading, it becomes more enjoyable as the puzzle pieces of knowledge and understanding collect. There were many times back in the day, I remember getting my Bible out when I didn't know it very well, and I would be falling asleep trying to make myself just read that one day's section, right? But you press through, you become better at it. And the more knowledge you have, the easier it is to read that, or in this case, listen. So now after decades of reading, I really look forward to it. I enjoy finding those new puzzle pieces. So we return to a place of pleasure. But the second thing that keeps us going on habits is we must believe they'll work. I've noticed with me a lot of times with certain diet plans and different things, since I really am not sure they would work, or let's say like the guy going to the gym, if he's not really sure it's going to do any good, you know, he's not going to keep going back. He's got to believe it's useful. But these results usually don't come right away, right? So there's this stage of discipline we have to have until we begin to see results. Once the rewards come, we tend to be hooked on that, whatever it is we're trying to do. The guy at the gym might be discouraged until he sees the muscles, and then he's going to be motivated, right? The same with diet. You start losing those pounds, you're going to be motivated. The same works with Bible reading. The rewards with Bible reading, Bible study, etc., are many, and I mention them routinely on this program, but the main one for me is getting to know God. From the Bible, we gain a true picture of who he is, not what religion says, or hearsay, or bitterness, or vain imagination, not science, but who he really is. And who he really is breathtaking. It's everything. It's the pearl of great price. So worth it. So get hooked on Bible reading, and the rewards will come like no other habit. And with that in mind, would you share this with your social media or friend that you think may find daily Bible reading helpful to them? Maybe a person with a long drive to work. They may thank you later for it. I'd really appreciate that. And today also one more quick thing is feel free to comment in the comment section, have a discussion there, any of your thoughts. And also be sure to check the description for helpful links and how to get your free one-year Bible. With that, let's get started today on our two Psalms. Psalm 78, A Contemplation by Asaph. Hear my teaching, my people. Turn your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from their children, telling to the generation to come the praises of Yahweh, his strength and his wondrous deeds that he has done. For he has established a covenant in Jacob and appointed a teaching in Israel, which he commanded our fathers that they should make them known to their children, that the generation to come might know, even the children who should be born, who should arise and tell their children, that they might set their hope in God and not forget God's deeds, but keep his commandments, and might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that didn't make their hearts loyal, whose spirit was not steadfast with God. The children of Ephraim, being armed and carrying bows, turned back in the day of battle. They didn't keep God's covenant and refused to walk in his law. They forgot his doings, his wondrous deeds that he had shown them. He did marvelous things in the sight of their fathers in the land of Egypt in the field of Zon. He split the sea and caused them to pass through. He made the waters stand as a heap. In the daytime he also led them with a cloud, and all night with a light of fire. He split rocks in the wilderness and gave them drink abundantly out of its depths. He brought streams also out of the rock and caused waters to run down like rivers. Yet they still went on to sin against him, to rebel against the Most High in the desert. They tempted God in their heart by asking food according to their desire. Yes, they spoke against God. They said, "Can God prepare a table in the wilderness? Behold, he struck the rock so the waters gushed out and streams overflowed. Can he give bread also? Will he provide meat for his people?" Therefore Yahweh heard and was angry. A fire was kindled against Jacob. Anger also went up against Israel, because they didn't believe in God and didn't trust his salvation. Yet he commanded the skies above and opened the doors of heaven. He rained down manna on them to eat and gave them food from the sky. Man ate bread of angels. He sent them food to the full. He caused the east wind to blow in the sky. By his power he guided the south wind. He also rained meat on them as dust, winged birds as the sand of the seas. He let them fall in the middle of their camp around their habitations. So they ate and were filled. He gave them their own desire. They didn't turn from their cravings. Their food was yet in their mouths when the anger of God went up against them, killed some of their fattest, and struck down the young men of Israel. For all this, they still sinned and didn't believe in his wondrous works. Therefore he consumed their days in vanity and their years in terror. When he killed them, then they inquired after him. They returned and sought God earnestly. They remembered that God was their rock, their most high God, their Redeemer. But they flattered him with their mouth and lied to him with their tongue. For their heart was not right with him, neither were they faithful in his covenant. But he, being merciful, of course he is. I'm telling you, God's long suffering is obviously beyond any human long suffering. 38 again. But he, being merciful, forgave iniquity and didn't destroy them. Yes, many times he turned his anger away and didn't stir up all his wrath. He remembered that they were but flesh, a wind that passes away and doesn't come again. How often they rebelled against him in the wilderness and grieved him in the desert. They turned again and tempted God and provoked the Holy One of Israel. They didn't remember his hand, nor the day when he redeemed them from the adversary, how he set his signs in Egypt, his wonders in the field of Zon. That's Zoan. He turned their rivers into blood and their streams so that they could not drink. He sent among them swarms of flies which devoured them and frogs which destroyed them. This is talking about the plagues of Israel right here in this part. So what he did to get the Pharaoh's attention so that he would let the Israel slaves go. So again, 45, he sent among them swarms of flies which devoured them and frogs which destroyed them. He also gave their increase to the caterpillar and their labor to the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail, their sycamore fig trees with frost. He also gave over their livestock to the hail and their flocks to hot thunderbolts. He threw on them the fierceness of his anger, wrath, indignation, and trouble, and a band of angels of evil. He made a path for his anger. He didn't spare their soul from death, but gave their life over to the pestilence, and struck all the firstborn of Egypt, the chief of their strength in the tents of Ham. But he led out his own people like sheep and guided them in the wilderness like a flock. He led them safely so that they weren't afraid, but the sea overwhelmed their enemies. He brought them to the border of his sanctuary, to his mountain, which his right hand had taken. He also drove out the nations before them, allotted them for an inheritance by line, and made the tribes of Israel to dwell in their tents. Yet they tempted and rebelled against the Most High, and didn't keep his testimonies, but turned back and dealt treacherously like their fathers. They were twisted like a deceitful bow, for they provoked him to anger with their high places. That's worshipping other gods. So they provoked him to anger with their high places and moved him to jealousy with their engraved images. When God heard this, he was angry and greatly abhorred Israel, so that he abandoned the tent of Shiloh, the tent which he made among men, which he placed among men, and delivered his strength into captivity, his glory into the adversary's hand. He also gave his people over to the sword and was angry with his inheritance. Fire devoured their young men. Their virgins had no wedding song. Their priests fell by the sword, and their widows couldn't weep. Then the Lord awakened as one out of sleep, like a mighty man who shouts by reason of wine. He struck his adversaries backward. He put them into a perpetual reproach. Moreover, he rejected the tent of Joseph and didn't choose the tribe of Ephraim, but chose the tribe of Judah, Mount Zion, which he loved. He built his sanctuary like the heights, like the earth which he has established forever. He also chose David his servant and took him from the sheepfolds and from following ewes that have their young, and he brought him to be the shepherd of Jacob, his people, and Israel, his inheritance. So he was their shepherd according to the integrity of his heart, and guided them by the skillfulness of his hands. Psalm 79, a psalm by Asaph. God, the nations have come into your inheritance. They have defiled your holy temple. They have laid Jerusalem in heaps. They have given the dead bodies of your servants to be food for the birds of the sky, and the flesh of your saints to the animals of the earth. They have shed their blood like water around Jerusalem. There was no one to bury them. We have become a reproach to our neighbors, a scoffing and derision to those who are around us. How long, Yahweh? Will you be angry forever? Will your jealousy burn like fire? Pour out your wrath on the nations that don't know you, on the kingdoms that don't call on your name, for they have devoured Jacob and destroyed his homeland. Don't hold the iniquities of our forefathers against us. Let your tender mercies speedily meet us, for we are in desperate need. Oh, I got to read that again. Let your tender mercies speedily meet us, for we are in desperate need. Help us, God, our salvation, for the glory of your name. Deliver us and forgive our sins for your name's sake. Why should the nations say, where is their God? Let it be known among the nations before our eyes that vengeance for your servant's blood is being poured out. Let the sighing of the prisoner come before you. According to the greatness of your power, preserve those who are sentenced to death. Pay back to our neighbors 7 times into their bosom their reproach with which they have reproached you, Lord. So we, your people, and sheep of your pasture, will give you thanks forever. We will praise you forever to all generations. That's it for today's reading. Thanks for joining me. See you tomorrow.